Sometimes in life, unexpected shit can happen. Your plans fail. You lose your job. You crash your car. And while these things that happen to you are not always your fault, it is your job to take the responsibility. Sure, you can't possibly account for every single thing that life throws at you. When things go wrong, it isn't necessarily your direct actions that cause the issue. But when you go through life with the belief that things are happening to you and not because of you, you give up control. You begin to believe that you don't have much influence over things, so you never feel the need or motivation to put in much effort. As a result, you stay in the same position for most of your life, never doing much or achieving much. There's no easy life. Bad things are still going to happen, regardless of who you are or what you do. If it happens in your life, it's your responsibility to figure out what you're going to do about it. Because what's the alternative? At the end of the day, it happened. You can either sit there and complain about it and point the finger, or you can do something to make the situation better. A lot of people have this idea in their mind that success takes this extreme level of discipline, this hard work and intense suffering. And although that is true to an extent, it's not really the case. If you're someone who's been doing a hard thing for a prolonged period of time, doing that thing isn't hard for you anymore. For example, if you've been going to the gym for the past few years, I can bet it's no longer a challenge for you to go. In fact, I can bet you enjoy going. The reality is you only need a few months or even a few weeks of actual intense effort. After that, as long as you keep the momentum, you'll stay progressing. Now, as good as that sounds, sadly for you, it also applies to the opposite. Small bad decisions one day turn into bad habits over time, which puts you in shit situations that you can't easily escape from. Momentum is a tool you can either build a beautiful life with or destroy your life with. So on the days where you don't feel like doing what you know you're supposed to do, just try and keep the momentum. If you're not going to go to the gym, at least go for a walk. Do something, anything to keep that momentum going. Because if you don't, well, you know what will happen. Having a goal and writing it down places you above 97% of the population. Most of you watching this are probably in that 3%. And out of that 3%, only 7% of you will achieve those goals. A large part of this is down to the fact that most people set goals that are result-based. The success of the business, the car they want to drive, etc. But what's funny about doing this is that our desires are always changing. So as a result, we're constantly moving the goalposts. On top of this, we automatically place that goal on a pedestal. It always feels too far away, unattainable. To give yourself a much higher chance of being in that 7%, I'd suggest you take a different approach to setting your goals. Try and look at the required actions, both long-term and short-term. For example, instead of aiming to make X amount of money next year, aim to work X amount of hours each week. This way, not only do you give yourself a clear roadmap, you give yourself an easy way of tracking your progress, allowing you to identify your issues and make changes along the way. Having result-based goals is great. I'm not saying don't set them, but through having them as your compass, you set yourself up for failure. You're going in blind. You need to focus your effort on the required input, not the desired outcome. If you're watching a video like this, I can almost guarantee that you've done enough thinking. You know where you want to go, and you know what to do to get there. But so often in life, we wait until we have all the answers. We overthink things, over-research them, and by the time we're ready to start something, we could have already done it. If there's one thing that I could tell you that would drastically transform your life, it's to trust yourself. The plan you have in your head, the strategy you're thinking of, all of it will work if you just start doing it. Because at the end of the day, you're not stupid. You know what the right answers are. The only way your plans can fail is if you don't do them in the first place. That's the only way. So each time you have a task in front of you that you know you're supposed to do, don't think about it. If you think for long enough, you'll find an excuse to not do it. As soon as your feet are at the edge, just jump. That's all you need to do. Every single person on this planet is on a different path. And as much as this advice, or anyone's advice, can be useful, ultimately it all comes down to one thing. This is your life. The reasons you have for wanting to improve are entirely personal, and it's these personal elements that will make you successful in getting what you want. Most of the advice I try and give on this channel is just stuff that's worked for me specifically. Sometimes I might be wrong, but it's your job to make your own personal decisions. You never want to solely depend on someone or something else. You're on your own personal journey. Find out what works for you. Figure out what complements your strengths and what complements your weaknesses. Just because you follow some advice online doesn't mean all of your problems will be fixed. When you wake up in the morning, you're still stuck with yourself. So finding out what works for you and developing your own strategies of operating through life is far better than any video you're going to watch online. I'm simply here to provide some advice that you can then put to use and see if it works for you.